And you can go ahead and get started.
Good. All right. All right, everyone. Well, welcome to our last meeting of the semester. So the only meeting we have left will be tomorrow, our little awards ceremony thing. So if you RSVP to that, we'll be in Knapp Hall tomorrow. But first, before our guest speaker, we wanted to award our senior choice faculty member for this year, Miss Shelley Dore. So the seniors voted on 3 different faculty members, and we chose Miss Dore as ours for the year. She's been very helpful. I think I can speak on behalf of the whole senior class that we've learned a lot from her, and she's been very helpful over the last 4 years, really, because we've all kind of had her at different times. So Miss Dore, if you have anything to say.
So it hit me that maybe you are going to expect some wildly well-planned speech. And I thought, I certainly don't want to disappoint anyone there. But truly, the only thing that I really want to say is thank you. Thank you very much for choosing me to be your Senior Choice Faculty Member of the Year. It truly does mean much, much more than I'm sure that I could possibly convey to you, especially via Zoom. But I do love what I do, and I hope that you see that on the first day of class. Every first day of class, I share a bit about myself with each of you, and I sincerely appreciate the fact that you allow me to be an instrumental part of your lives. I get to know you so well, and you truly do start to feel like my own personal children so many, many times. And that is probably the highest compliment that I could pay anyone. So just know that I am so proud of each of you, and it makes me smile when I see your faces. When I saw some of you appear here in Zoom, I was like, many of you, of course, I see every Tuesday and Thursday, but a couple of faces here I won't get to see until next spring, but it means the world to me. It truly does, that you would honor me in this way and give me the opportunity to lead you. It is a privilege. I feel so blessed to have the position that I have. I feel like it gives me the opportunity to touch the future of a great profession. So thank you. And I'm going to remain open to all of you and available. So if you ever need me, reach out and let me know how I can help you. And I'm going to gladly do the best that I can.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I'll have your award for you in class on Thursday.
Thank you, Abby.
You're welcome. You're free to go if you want to go.
I have a baseball game, so I may sneak out. Don't worry, I'm not playing. I'm just the mom. So, but you guys have a great afternoon, and I will see you in class on Thursday for sure.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right. And then we have our guest speaker today, Miss Fallon Bader. I hope I said that right. She is the owner of the Sprouting Kitchen, and so she's going to talk to us a little bit about that today. So if you want to take over, you can go ahead.
Awesome, great. Can you allow me to share my screen, please? I've got some slides.
Dr. McKinley, do you have to do that? Or can I do it? I didn't know if I could do it or not.
Let me unshare you.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Perfect. All right. Let's just go into present mode. Okay, we're loading. I don't know why that it's taking so long. Let's see. Let me try that again. There we go. Okay, great. So hi, everybody. My name is Fallon, and I'm the owner of the Sprouting Kitchen, and I'm going to tell you guys all about me. So we'll get to that in a couple slides. But first, I want to know about you all. So in particular, I would love to know this kind of presentation. I'm going to talk about nutrition and dietetics as it relates to culinary, so cooking as it relates to sustainability, sustainability as in working with farms and growing food, and entrepreneurship. So let me know in the chat, what experience do you all have in terms of cooking, culinary nutrition, sustainability, growing food, or entrepreneurship? And as you guys think about that, and don't like, if it's literally just like, I like cooking, that's fine. It can be simple, more elaborate. I just have to share because I think it's so crazy. I really like this podcast called How I Built This. It's a very popular entrepreneurship podcast. They interview like very well-known businesses. And the one that I listened to today that recently came out was the owner of, I'm going to say it wrong. It's a very well-known chicken finger restaurant that started in Baton Rouge. What is
Raising Cane's.
Raising Cane's, that's it. And then I was like, hey, I'm talking to students in Baton Rouge today. How serendipitous is that? I've never been to Raising Cane's, and I've actually never been to Baton Rouge, but I've been to New Orleans a couple years ago, and I loved it. And I would love to come back to Louisiana. I was supposed to be there for Fancy a couple years ago, and was so sad that we couldn't have the Academy's conference in New Orleans. So anyways, that is kind of just something I had to share. Okay, well, I'll let you guys kind of write in as we go along. Don't be shy. I like to kind of know just a little bit about who is in the Zoom realm with us. And so as we go along, please feel free to ask questions throughout. You can just write them in the chat, and then at the end, we'll obviously open it up for a little Q&A if you guys have any questions. But I like to make these as engaging as possible. Okay, so a little bit more about me. I grew up in New Jersey. I went to Penn State undergrad for nutrition. I got my registered dietitian's license from Cornell, which is in upstate New York. And then I did a program called Food Corps, which does not exist in Louisiana. It is in, it was in Alabama. It's in some states in the South, but it's an AmeriCorps program where you work with students in schools to incorporate nutrition and growing gardens and cooking into schools. It's a really great program. If you feel called to learning more about growing food and working with like food justice, highly recommend Food Corps. You can check it out. Then I was an outpatient dietitian here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is where I am located. Then I got my master's, and then I started a business in 2019, which is what a lot of this presentation is going to be about. Okay, so this may or may not be you, but if it is you, then this might resonate with you. So you guys are, I believe, mostly students, right? Undergrad students. So, you know, you might be graduating in a few years, and if you are interested in the fields of nutrition and sustainability, or maybe food systems, even culinary, you might be like, I would like to do that. Or maybe you see my presentation, think I'd like to do something similar, but there's not really many jobs in this type of field. Of course, you can usually get a clinical job, or even different community jobs are more common. So when I found myself in this kind of place where I had gotten some experience working with school gardens, and I was really intrigued, loved meeting farmers, and I'll get to that in a little bit more, but I was like, I don't see any jobs for this, kind of combining my interests. So I had to make my own job, right? And that's kind of entrepreneurship, which is maybe starting a business or even carving out a new job in the organization you work in. So my story, when I moved to New Mexico, I really wanted to learn about the farmers, meet the farmers that were here, and kind of actually began with just volunteering on some farms. If you do want to learn about sustainability wherever you live, the best way, my opinion, is just to get to know your local farmers, and volunteering on a farm is a good place to start. Most farmers happily take volunteers. It's not always like the most glamorous volunteering, but it can be fun and really educational. So when I was doing that volunteering on farms, I just realized I had just become a dietitian about a year prior. But when I was learning about the different varieties and talking to farmers, I realized they knew so much about food that I didn't know, right? There's the nutrition side of food, but then there's this whole other aspect of growing the food. And does soil matter? Does water matter? Does that matter? How much nutrients our vegetables have? Spoiler alert, it does. Right? So if soil is really rich and microbe rich, that can affect the nutrients that are in our produce that we're growing. And most of all, for me, the biggest like aha moment was, I mean, I already loved food. I'm sure all of us as dietitians, we're foodies. We could talk about food all day. But when I knew the people growing my food, once I developed a deeper relationship with them, that food that I was eating became really, really valuable. Like, if you've ever grown food before, you know how much work it is. And even if you haven't, it's a lot of work to grow food. So, right, if you have like a tomato plant, when those tomatoes actually fruit and are edible, you're not going to waste any of them because you spent so much time making sure those tomatoes really came to fruition. So it's kind of this similar thing with farmers that I was like, wow, and also, so let me talk about Lorenzo here. So this is Lorenzo Candelaria. He's a 7th generation farmer here in Albuquerque. And with farmers in the United States, a lot of them are older and there's not as many young farmers who want to farm, which is a whole nother issue we won't get into today. But a farmer like Lorenzo had so much wisdom and history and just brought this aspect of food that a dietitian usually can't, right? We can talk about why nutrition is important, but Lorenzo or a farmer can talk about the history and the seed and how it grew. When you put those together, what happens is really powerful, right? We get people who realize, wow, this food that Lorenzo's growing and Fallon is teaching me why it's healthy and how to eat it. Once you put that together, like that motivation and history with some education, then people are really excited to to eat food. When I did food corps, there's a lot of data now, especially with schools and kids, right? When kids are involved in the growing food process, right? They have a school garden, they cook the food, they're much more likely to actually eat the food. Makes sense, right? So fast forward, I have worked with Lorenzo, lots of local farmers in Albuquerque. I'd worked at the hospital for a bit, but I always knew I wanted to combine my kind of love for nutrition education with all these local farmers, sustainability, my own experience that I just talked about, and put that all together. So what happened was the beginning of the Sprouting Kitchen. So this is actually here just like my first ever time that I put my ideas on paper. So a very kind of rough scratch here. But how I got to where I am today is learning, right? I learned from local farms. I was curious. I shadowed people. I volunteered. I had an idea. So my idea was, actually, Lorenzo had always said, bring your patients to the farm, right? My patients at the hospital. I would love to bring my patients to the farm, but I can't do that because of HIPAA violations and such. So I was like, why don't we just do like a free cooking class on your farm and see how it goes? So we did that, and it actually went really well. A lot of people came. I loved leading that. And in that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to have cooking classes outside on local farms. So we did the pilot test. And then I actually got a little bit of grant money. I won an award from Siggy's Yogurt. They were doing a nutrition entrepreneurship grant contest. And that just gave me a little bit of capital so that I could buy some stoves and cutting boards to get started. So this was in 2018. Then 2019 is when I officially started my business, and what our classes look like and how they've looked like since 2019. You can see here, we meet on different farms around Albuquerque, and the farmer usually gives us a tour, shows us what's growing, just kind of introduces us to the farm that we're at. Then we take that produce. Sometimes we get a chance to actually harvest it, and participants now cook with the produce that we have just harvested. So we base the recipes off of whatever the farm will have that week. So it's usually me figuring that out like a week before our classes. But if we have radishes and Swiss chard, then we'll make some recipes that involve radishes and Swiss chard. You can see we've got, kids, older folks, a nice kind of range of people. Then, we're cooking. And I want to just point out over here that who is our audience. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of local organizations here, like universities, farmers market associations, hospitals, where they sponsor our classes so that they're free for usually lower income folks or people who have maybe a chronic disease and they need some extra nutrition education. They can come to our classes for free and they pay me to put them on. And then if you look here, it's kind of have to zoom in, but one of our farms that we work with has a farm stand and they can accept SNAP and EBT. So folks who are lower income can use those food stamps benefits to buy produce. And that's just been a really, really awesome program that we've been running. And I don't have a picture of it, but lastly, after everyone cooks, we take a time to really just sit down and enjoy the food that everybody has made together, which is just, as you can see, a really awesome full circle experience, right? They're seeing where the food comes from, who the local farmer is, how hard they work to grow that food, and we're cooking with it. People are learning. I usually do a little demo, and then they get to sit down and eat the food together. So that's our in-person classes, and that's how the Sprouting Kitchen started. Then, of course, 2020 happened and the pandemic. We couldn't do any in-person classes, which kind of forced us to move into the virtual world, which has actually been really great. So in 2020, we taught, and to this day, virtual cooking classes. Mostly what they look like is I send out the recipe beforehand, and then folks can buy those ingredients, whatever equipment they need, they show up on Zoom and I lead them through the recipe. So I teach those now for a local hospital. I teach them on my website. This picture right here is actually, these are medical students. Maybe you guys are familiar with Tulane, right? The school in New Orleans. They have kind of spearheaded an amazing culinary nutrition program where they work with med students to teach them about nutrition and culinary education. That's kind of what I do with the med school here in New Mexico. You can see here, this is just like a flyer of a virtual cooking class we did. And on that note too, I just wanted to highlight this culinary nutrition piece, because now it's a part of my business that I'm trying to grow is working with more hospitals and organizations. It doesn't just have to be like participants, people that we're trying to reach to educate. It can also be healthcare providers like med students, doctors, right? Anyone who works in healthcare, so that they can also talk to patients about nutrition, even have a foundation for that. Okay, so that's a lot, right, of the Sprouting Kitchen. I have to kind of pare it down to a short version. But how did I get there? So I think this is a really important part of Sprouting Kitchen. Didn't just happen overnight. It was years and years of community building that got me here. Even before I, pretty much right when I moved to New Mexico, I started just getting to know everyone I could in New Mexico. So for example, the county extension here, right? Every state has a land grant university. it might be LSU. I'm not sure who it is in Louisiana, right? So you guys have county extension. So for us, New Mexico State is ours, and they fund our classes to this day. But what allowed me to make that relationship was that I just volunteered with them. I actually made like handouts for them back when I first moved here, and they paid me to do that. So I just got to know our county extension. I just volunteered on our New Mexico, what's it called? Dietary, no, NMAND, our state dietetic association. And that allowed me to meet a lot of other dietitians. Our Farmers Market Association, I got involved in policy in New Mexico, which allowed me to meet a lot of really great people. Sometimes we have to go outside of the dietitian bubble, which can be tricky sometimes, but getting to know people who are involved in food systems works can be great. And then this is an entrepreneurship group that I got involved with here in Albuquerque, but they have chapters all over the United States. And then I just wanted to highlight, just to give you guys some other ideas of other RDs who work in sustainability fields. Marie Spiker, she works within the Academy as their sustainability fellow. I mean, she doesn't anymore, but she used to. And that's more of like a research angle, looking at sustainability. Winona Byam, she is the executive director of a food policy council in Detroit, doing amazing, amazing local food systems work, food justice, food sovereignty. Check her out and her organization's work. Siobhan Hansen has a very cool job working for Google as the food choice architect and nutrition manager, right? So you can even work in food service to look at how some of these larger food service companies, how can we help to make them maybe a little bit more sustainable? And then Casey Hutchinson was working for a resort in kind of helping them with their supply chain and local farmers, connecting them to sustainability efforts. And she asked to start this position. I love this because I think it shows sometimes you have to make the initiative and kind of create the job for yourself. You can always ask. The worst thing that someone can say is no, we don't need that, we don't have the budget. But sometimes people don't know what they don't know, right? So it can't hurt to ask. So some resources here if you aren't interested in the sustainability, food systems, food security side of things. Within the Academy are interest groups that you can join. There's one for oncology, and really like there's like 30 of them. And I happen to be the chair of the Hunger and Environmental DPG, which is just a great group of dietitians who are really passionate about this kind of work. Another great group is called the Planetary Health Collective. And then I just put like locally, right, getting involved in your policy council is a great way to network sometimes outside of that like dietitian realm. And just a few tips on entrepreneurship if you do find yourself in that space one day. Being creative about the product you are delivering, especially in the food world and nutrition world. I think we could use a bit of an update. I think, as you know, I was at Penn State almost 10 years ago, and it's crazy to me. Some of the way that we talk about, weight and BMI, that has changed a lot in the 10 years that since I've been in undergrad. And it's really, really amazing to see the field of dietetics kind of evolving, with a lot of work around diversity and inclusion. That has changed a lot, and it's really a rapidly evolving career. So I think there's a lot of room for creativity and entrepreneurship, being okay with asking and accepting feedback and believing in your idea and yourself. It's just so funny because I just keep thinking about that podcast today, and I just think you guys should all go listen to it. I'm going to put the link in there because his story is amazing, how he started raising canes. If you don't know his story, it's like really, really inspiring. So check that out, especially since you guys are at LSU. And with that, here is all of my contact info, my email, my Instagram, my website. I'm always happy to answer questions or just connect. The big vision for the Sprouting Kitchen one day is to help other dietitians and nutrition professionals start programs in their location, wherever they live, connecting community members to local farms. So if you see yourself maybe doing that one day, definitely keep in touch with me because I would love to connect with you. And with that, I will open up for any questions.
I just want to say how funny it is you keep mentioning Raising Cane's because Raising Cane's is so big, especially at LSU. Like they give away free Raising Cane's at like softball games and baseball games and basketball. Like it's huge around here.
I imagine just because I know how many stores they have, and like I'm sure there's that hometown pride. It was built all around like LSU. So I just put the podcast link in there if anyone wants to go listen to it.
Yeah.
All of us have been stuck in traffic while the drive-through line for the original location still exists. So we've all been stuck in traffic on the main road that goes through campus because it's in such an obscure place that was not meant to be as big as it is all these years later. But the original location is just like a block off campus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Awesome. Any questions or thoughts, comments, anything for me? Don't be shy. Stop sharing.
I actually have another really quick one if no one else does. Talking to other dietitians who have an entrepreneurial spirit, I have just always wondered, after all the hard work of becoming a dietitian and then creating a business, like you become more of a business owner than a dietitian. Like, did you find that a part of your story?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it totally depends on what area you want to work in. So like there's a lot of private practice RDs who own their own business.
Mhm.
And that I would say you're definitely using a lot of more of that like clinical base that you do learn in school. Whereas I think for me, I'm maybe not using as much of like what I learned in undergrad in my internship. Will say though, having the RD credential just gives you that legitimacy, right? When I go to a new organization and say, hey, I want to partner with you, and they see that I'm a dietitian, they're like, oh, like we know what that means. Whereas if I'm just, hey, I have this really great program, it gives you that like immediate justification from someone. Not that can't be earned without the RD credential, but it does help in that way. Third thing I would say too is that, right, like if you see yourself working in a hospital or in a job that already exists, that's awesome. There are so many times throughout the day where I'm like, I wish I just worked a normal job and didn't have to do all this business stuff. There's nothing against like, right, doing that kind of path. But if you do find yourself, right, being like, all these job opportunities that I'm seeing don't really fit my passions, what I'm interested in, then you might have to get a little bit more creative, which might bring you down a path you didn't maybe see yourself going down. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? All right. Well, if not, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here today. And it was really interesting to listen to. So
Sure. Awesome. Well, feel free to reach out, stay in touch, and thank you guys for having me.
thank you. And you're free to go. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let me reshare real quick. Okay. All right, so we don't have much else to talk about today, but we're going to introduce our executive board and our chairs for next year. So Cassie will be your president, Lydia will be your president-elect, and then Olivia Meir will be your secretary, and then Rachel is going to be the treasurer. So congratulations to them. And then our new chairs, so social and mentoring chair is going to be Hannah Harper. Our fundraising co-chairs are going to be Katie and Lydia. And then we still have some chair positions open, so feel free to apply to those. We have technology and marketing chair, community outreach, 2 people can do that. And then we also need somebody for the Ag Student Association rep, and you'll do Thanksgiving and Easter baskets as well. A historian, and that's it. So if you want to apply for any of those, the link will be in the email, and it might have been in the email you got before the meeting, but try to send those in before, I think that's next Friday, and then we'll get the ball rolling on that. And then this is a list of everyone that matched this year. So we had 100% match rate for this year for our seniors. So that's super exciting. So this is where everybody's going. If y'all want to look at that real quick. I don't know if y'all can see this, but I'm trying to move it out of the way. So everybody's kind of going all over the place. So, all right. And then tomorrow we're going to have our little awards night in Knapp Hall. So hopefully you RSVP'd for that. We'll have like snacks and stuff. And we'll just be awarding those new awards and the old ones that we've always had. And we'll have some mocktails too and some food. So that'll be fun. And then Rachel is our member of the month. Dr. McKinley, do you have anything to say about that?
She's a rock star. Thank you so much for helping me with mentoring this year. I was finally able to really take something off of my plate and put it in someone else's hands, which I love to do. So this is well deserved. Congratulations, Rachel.
All right. And then that's pretty much it. So as always, connect with us on social media. And this is our last meeting of the year. So I'll see y'all tomorrow, and then that'll be it for me. And then you'll see Cassie from now on. And then here's the QR code for attendance if you want to scan that.
Someone wants to come early tomorrow at like 4. Just message me to like help me pick up food and do the things.
I should be able to
Okay.
I can do that.
I'll be at work, Dr. McKinley, so I'll just like stay and I can help you.
Do you need help like going somewhere and picking up food? Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Yeah, I might just bring cash tomorrow, and whoever wants to go to Mathern's to pick up the food, I'll just hand you the money. If not, I can roll over there real fast.
I can't make it tomorrow and I'm sad about it. So I'm so sorry. I have work from 3 to 11. So
Yeah, we're not going to record it only out of like the convenience of not having to do that, but we'll email any of the award winners that weren't able to make it. But we'll send an email anyway with all of that listed out with who won.
any questions? Not much to talk about today.
Thank you, Abby, for doing such a great job.
All right. Well, if y'all don't have any questions, thanks for coming, and we'll see you tomorrow if you'll be there.
Bye-bye.